First of all, what is sociology? Sociology is the study of the human behavior within society and the consequences of those behaviors. Concept of self in the sociological perspective. The self, according to traditional sociology, is a reasonably steady set of perception about who we are in a relation to ourselves, other, and social institutions.
Social constructionism is a theory of knowledge in sociology and communication theory that examines the development of jointly constructed understandings of the world that form the basis for shared assumptions about reality. The theory centers on the notion that meanings are developed in coordination with others rather than separately within each individual. This is the example of social constructionism include race, gender, nationality, childhood, madness, age, intelligence, and beauty. How culture affects the self. According to Sir Edward B. Taylor, founder of cultural anthropology, classically defined culture as that complex whole which includes knowledge, beliefs, arts, morals, law, customs, and any capabilities and habits acquired by a human as a member of society. Example: personality traits culture influence your personality and how it is displayed, such as if and how you value traits like humility, self-esteem, politeness, and assertiveness. According to developmental psychologist Catherine Reif, 2010, culture can influence how you, your co-workers, and the families you serve view relationships, personality traits, achievements, and expressing emotions. The looking glass self-theory. According to sociologist Charles Horton Coley, individuals develop their concept of self by observing how they are perceived by others. A concept Coley coined as the looking glass self. The looking glass self describes the process wherein individuals base their sense of self on how they believe others view them. Using social interaction as a type of mirror, people use the judgments they receive from others to measure their own worth, values, and behavior. The looking glass self theory is described the process wherein individuals base their sense of self on how they believe others view them. The self as a product of modern society's sociological perspective. Your personal and social identity is never static, but this doesn't mean you are constantly revising who you are according to how you feel. Just because you adopt a new fashion style or a cooler way of talking doesn't mean that your personal and social identity has substantially changed. These are purely cosmetic or outer changes and more likely reflect other aspects of yourself than to truly indicate a change in core self-identity. The self as a product of modern society, sociological perspective. Nowadays, self-identity is important for an individual to understand the self within him. The basic idea about self-development is that the self is not present at birth, rather it develops while growing through social experiences. The self as a product of modern society's sociological perspective. Your personal and social identity is never static, but this doesn't mean you are constantly revising who you are according to how you feel. Just because you adopt a new fashion style or a cooler way of talking doesn't mean that your personal and social identity has substantially changed. These are purely cosmetic or outer changes and more likely reflect other aspects of yourself than to truly indicate a change in core self-identity. The self as a product of modern society, sociological perspective. Nowadays, self-identity is important for an individual to understand the self within him. The basic idea about self-development is that the self is not present at birth, Rather, it develops while growing through social experiences. Self in society and society in self. No one can stand apart from the social world. Everyone is influenced by society and it makes its indelible mark on us. It's a great error to think that there is no such thing as society or that we are separate, self-sufficient individuals. Everyone is influenced by family, friends, education, ethnicity, work, class, gender, politics, and history. At every point in our lives, we both rely on and contribute to our social environment. Self in society and society in self, those aspects of one's identity or self, concept that are important to influence by interpersonal relationship and reaction of other people.
Self and society in society and self. First, we are self-directing beings capable of independent thought and behavior. We have the knowledge and skills that allow us to deal with other people and situations in our own terms. We are not completely trapped by our circumstances unless we wish to be or we refuse to fight against them. Second, we are all unique individuals because we have all had a unique set of experiences. Even if you were brought up in the same family, you experience the world in different ways than your brothers or sisters. The emotional self. Emotion and the motivations to which they give rise have frequently been denied any important role in our day-to-day conduct by even the most sophisticated of social theorists. Anthony Giddens, for example, is of the view that emotions and motives are not directly involved in every woman behavior. Instead, what he calls reflexive monitoring and rationalization, reason giving and rational understanding play the major roles. Motives only play a part in relatively unusual circumstances, situation which in some way break the routine. The emotional self. The emotional or feeling side of our nature goes hand in hand with our reflective, intelligent, and calculating side. In most instances, the different strands are mixed together in different proportions. But in some instances, one strand may predominate over the others, as in the stuffy roll-bound bureaucrat or the child. Open-mouthed and filled with wonderment, no behavior thoughts is completely empty of emotion. All thought it's important often goes unrecognized or suppressed. Core and satellite needs of self. All thought, loving and being loved by others are crucial. The love of self is no less important. All three are interdependent. Without the love of self, the ability to give love to others is hampered. It's about having integrity, taking care of yourself, and being self-protective when it is required. Approval of self and others. If love in all varieties is the key focus for other feelings and emotion, then the need for approval closely mirrors it. Again, there are close link between self-approval, approval by others, and the search for approval has its own challenges. The constant searching for the approval is based on fear that the other love will be withdraw, withdrawn and that you will be helpless and involved. Approval. Anthropological perspective. Anthropology is a scientific study of the humanity concerned with human behavior, human biology, and societies. In the both the presentation present and past, including past human species. The Filipino culture is an exuberant story that tells of the nation's journey through the centuries. Costume reflect people's faith, their oneness with others, their affinity with nature, their celebration of the nation charm is in the diversity in the way of life across the archipelago. The
resplendent color of its folks arts and cacophony of foreign influences, and that's found roots in the Filipino languages, customs, and traditions. Anthropological perspective. Filipino identity. The hunting questions the defensi of strength that Filipino national identity possesses and the insufficient adherence that Filipino nationhood attracts lie in the failure of the state to mold the popular into an encompassing moral order in which people can distinctly imagine that they belong in the absence of the shared narrative of collective emancipation that successfully ties the individual's private life to an authorized center of the civilization. We find two opposing nations coexisting in the independent Filipino states. The states owning oligarchy versus the nation of the ordinary people.